Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Today we're continuing our reading with the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta in anticipation of the appearance day of Sri Ramachandra, which is coming up very soon. What date? April 4th? Is that correct? April 4th is Ramanavami? Please someone check. April 5th, what day of the week is that? Kṛṣṇa, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Wednesday, okay. We'd also like to welcome Venkat Prabhu, who's come all the way from Boston. He's noted there in Boston as a super performer of devotional service. I get letters every other day telling me that all the service he's doing. Now he's come to visit us here at ISV. So a very warm welcome. We're really touched that you came all the way out here, and we're glad that you were here for the Harinam last night and that you'll be here for the weekend. Please welcome His Grace, Venkat Prabhu. We're hoping that Krishna can sense our intention, and that is that we need more and more heavy hitters on our team. And I think he's responding. It seems that way. So thank you very much for your willingness to sacrifice your life for the Sankirtan movement to help spread it all over the world. Deeply appreciate it. We left off the other night reading from the part 2, the glories of Goloka, in Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta chapter 4. We're now on text number 206. Narada Muni is the first spiritual master for the path of worshipping the deity of the Lord. Upon hearing my question, he stood up, embraced me in extreme ecstasy, and answered in this way. Commentary: by composing the Narada Pancharatra, Narada long ago became the original teacher of the method of deity worship as pure devotional service. In this verse, the word marg means path, and since it is derived from the verb mrig, to seek, it can also be understood to mean the goal of endeavor. Text 207-209. Sri Narada said, the deity forms I have mentioned are all equal to the original personality of Godhead. There is no need to even mention the glories of worshipping them. Persons who worship the Lord's deity, be it ancient, new, or even concocted, provide they worship the deity as being directly the Lord himself, will not fall down from their religious status or be otherwise at fault, even if they neglect their prescribed duties and other such principles. Rather, their behavior should be considered exemplary, and such deity worship should be regarded as exalted devotional service, yielding the best of results. Ramananda Prabhu should be feeling pretty good about right now. Commentary: even irregular worship of the Supreme Lord in his deity form is all auspicious. Because of the strength of bhakti, worshippers who fail to observe all the prescribed varna ashram duties are not to be considered fallen from the standards of civilized behavior, nor should they be considered unqualified for material reasons, nor faulted for imperfect knowledge of the methods of worship. Ordinarily, offenses committed in ritual deity worship bring infamy in this life and hellish punishment in the next. But worship of the Lord's deity performed with faith and devotion is transcendental. Persons who practice devotional service are excused for their lack of material qualification. Makarma kurvatam pumsam kriyalopo bhavedyadi tesham karmani kurvanti tisra katyo maharshayaha. If persons doing devotional service to me happen to fail to execute some of their karmic duties, 30 million exalted sages carry out those obligations on their behalf. Can I have a Haribol, please? That's from the Padma Purana, so you can take that to the bank. The general opinion of saintly persons is that devotional worship of the Supreme Lord's deity is always praiseworthy, and exalted Vaishnava acharyas consider deity worship a principal activity of pure devotional service. The primary meaning of the word bhakti is seva, service. And service to the Lord in the form of deity worship includes elements of all the methods of bhakti yoga. This worship leads to the highest perfection of life, far beyond accomplishments in the four ordinary categories of human endeavor. 210. One can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass, provided one sees within it the presence of the Supreme Lord, or by just once uttering or hearing even a faint semblance of the Lord's name. Please say, Vaisesika Dasa, please read it again. One can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass, provided one sees within it the presence of the Supreme Lord, or by just once uttering or hearing even a faint semblance of the Lord's name. What to speak of? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. People were hearing the holy name in its entirety last night, the whole Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The sound vibration was unabated. And somehow or other, we're in a particular place on the earth right now where people are particularly liberal. Now, if you were in Kuwait, for instance, if we were all in Kuwait, we would not have had the same facility to set up on a street corner and sing the Lord's names for 3 hours without stoppage. To speak of distribute Bhagavad Gita and all the other things that we did. Give out prasadam, tell people that they should surrender to Krishna, so forth and so on. There may even be places across these United States of America where we would not be able to do that. But Palo Alto isn't one of them. It just happens to be about 22 square miles surrounded by reality. So while we're here in Silicon Valley, or anyone out there listening who's in a situation where they can express their devotional sentiments by broadcasting the holy name, should do it as soon as possible. We can't take for granted that the material world will be accommodating at all times. Even if we read the story about Hiranyakashipu, we can understand that Hiranyakashipu suddenly appeared on the scene because of his intense austerities, and then demanded respect from everybody, including the demigods. Only Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva were exempt. And even Narada was, of course, he's eternally independent and unaffected himself, but still he had to have some connection with Hiranyakashipu. This material world's not at all a stable place. And so when we see any facility, even for 2 seconds in our life, we should take advantage of it and not take it for granted. Not think, oh, I can do this anytime. I'll do it later. I'll spread the Krishna consciousness movement later. Or I'll expand my service later, or I'll become more focused later on my service. if you have 2 seconds, like Maharaj Khatvanga had, you should take advantage of it as he did when you have the time. Because you may not get it again, and the Shastras say this again and again, that you have a short life that's labvam sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante manusham artanam anityam api hadiram. It's anityam, which is a scary vibration to the eternal spirit soul, anityam. How does that make you feel when I say that? Don't you feel kind of like shiver and go like, I don't like anityam. I like nityam. You like nityam? Yes. Yeah. Anityam. Nityam. Anityam. No. Okay, so the Shastra says your life is anityam. But that's not our life, it's just our life situation. And the life situation that we have right now may be favorable for devotional service, and if it is, you must take advantage of it right away, immediately. Don't wait. And also, don't try to take extra time to cultivate things, the Shastra says, that are already available to monkeys, dogs, and pigs. Because monkeys, dogs, and pigs don't work so much for a living. They kind of hang around, they get stuff for free. And there's a free facility within nature to get enough sense gratification so that one can keep one's biological machine going. So the Shastra also says, Kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yasceha karma bihi. Don't align your desires with sense gratification, because that's something that is available to lower animals. Therefore, you should consider that if it's available to them, it's obviously available to you at any time. It's not a problem. But you should align your desires with the pure devotees whose interest is in chanting Hare Krishna, speaking Krishna Katha, and spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Just like tuning a radio. You have to find the frequency. You have to scan. Sometimes have a scanner. You scan around, you find, and then you tune it up. And if you tune your desire to be in harmony, in complete resonance with the desires of a pure devotee, then this is the meaning, jivasya tattva jignasya, then you can live for this purpose. Then you're propelled towards your ultimate purpose of life, which is to love Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, it's always fuzzy reception in the material world, never satisfying. So, one can reach perfection by honoring even a blade of grass, provided one sees within it the presence of the Supreme Lord, or by just once uttering or hearing even a faint semblance of the Lord's name. Commentary, one who understands that in a blade of grass the super soul is present along with the jiva soul, and who therefore honors the grass by watering it and bowing down, is in fact performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Such person easily attains liberation or whatever else he desires. And the same results are obtainable from just once pronouncing or hearing even a dim reflection of the holy name. 211. How then can one find fault in worshiping the deity, in whom the Lord personally appears, who evokes remembrance of the Lord, who has been consecrated by mantras, and who is the receiver of all kinds of devotional service? Commentary, when the deity of Lord Vishnu has been properly installed with the avahana, invitation mantras, and is worshipped by devotees who have put aside all misconceptions that he is a statue of wood or stone, such worship is faultless. Even logicians have to admit the existence of inconceivable potencies in special worldly things, gems, mantras, potent medicines, and so on. If even material objects act in ways undetectable by mundane senses and intelligence, then why can't the Supreme Lord, in whose own creation, appears as he wants? Then why can't the Supreme Lord, in his own creation, appear as he wants? The Lord's deity helps the conditioned souls in their meditation by allowing them to see the Lord's form. Those who visit the deity see the beauty of all his limbs simultaneously and are effortlessly transported to the ocean of devotional ecstasy. Simply by worshiping the deity, one performs all 9 processes of bhakti yoga: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the Lord's lotus feet, worshiping, offering prayers, becoming the Lord's servant, becoming his friend, and surrendering everything. Text 2:12. Persons who properly worship Krishna in his deity form never disrespect Krishna's devotees. And if because of being absorbed in worship they accidentally do so, the devotees make light of such offenses and praise the worshippers. Purport, commentary. Although worship of the Supreme Lord's deity is a powerful means of devotional service, its good effects can be completely nullified by offenses against Vaishnavas. Narada here assures Gopakumar that serious worshippers of the deity are spiritually mature enough to know that they must carefully avoid displeasing any Vaishnav. Moreover, if a careless neophyte absorbed in deity worship neglects or disrespects Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavas mercifully overlook the trespass and instead see only the worshipper's sincere attachment to the Lord. In fact, it's mentioned in Shastra that if you're worshiping the deity and exalted Vaishnav enters the assembly, you can temporarily stop worshiping the deity, greet the Vaishnav if there's nobody else to do that, and then go back to your deity worship. This is the proper etiquette. There are others, however, who concoct some new image and call it Lord Hari, but who actually see that form as different from the Lord. They worship with the idea that the deity is no more than stone or some other material substance, and they respect neither the devotees of Lord Hari nor living beings in general. Proud of their worship, they transgress the injunctions of the Vedas and the Lord. These foolish worshippers, the lowest of all the Lord's devotees, do not obtain the promised fruits of worship. Commentary. When criticizing those attached to deity worship, the scriptures are really speaking about offensive worshippers who think the deity only an image of the Supreme Lord, not the Lord in person. Such idolaters consider the deity mere stone, wood, or metal. They concoct their own forms of the Lord, unaware that the authorized deity appears by his own plan, and they are oblivious to the presence of the Lord in his devotees. Because such offensive worshippers lack proper respect for the deity and the Vaishnavas, those worshippers naturally offend all living entities and violate the basic principles of the Vedas. Some Vaishnavas are free from the influence of the modes of nature, and others are still conditioned by goodness, passion, and ignorance. The offensive worshippers described in this verse are the lowest of the Lord's devotees. In Srimad Bhāgavatam 11.247, they are called prakrita, materialistic. Acharyam eva haraye pujam yashadaye hate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sapakta prakrita smitaha. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. The scriptural statement, pratima manda buddhinam, the deity is meant for the less intelligent, refers to this lowest class of devotees who lack spiritual discrimination. They do not receive the benefits of deity worship described in the Shastras. Yo mam sarveshu bhuteshu santam atmanam ishwaram hitvar cham bhajate maudyad basmanyeva juhoti saha. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples, but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. In other words, the personality of Godhead does not accept their worship. So someone please tell me what was just said. You summarize. Use the mic.
So people like who think is worship the deity and they offend devotees. Sometimes Vaishnavas overlook that, but and you also said that Vaishnavas.
What about people who worship deities but offend devotees? What about them?
That Vaishnavas overlook that. Senior Vaishnavas overlook that, but you also said that in the Shastras it says that you can always pause your worship and then turn and offer obeisances or be respectful toward the devotee and then continue it again.
And what was the last thing we heard? Somebody help him out, the last part.
The different types of worship that you do. The different types of devotion.
Here, pass it along to somebody else. Go ahead. Good. Nice job. Keep going.
One who worships the deity but does not know that the same Lord exists in all the living entities as the super soul and does not show proper respect to the other living entities is considered to be the one who is pouring oblations. It's like pouring, his deity worship is like pouring oblations unto ashes, and the Lord does not accept his deity worship.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. To reiterate, one who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord is Paramatma, is situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance, and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. Bhasmanyeva juhoti saha. Bhasma means ashes. Juhoti makes these oblations. It's just like that. As stated by Sri Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers to Lord Nrsimha, Naivatmana praburayam nijalabha purno manam janada vidusa karuno vradite yadyajjano bhagavate vidatita manam tachchatmane pratimukasya yata mukashihi. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee, because the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. That's from Bhāgavatam 7:9-11. In this prayer, Prahlad describes Lord Nrsimha as the personal master, Prabhu, of all living souls, and as Prahlad's own life and soul. Atmana Prabhur Ayam. Everything the jivas possess actually belongs to the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, the Lord, as merciful as he is, rejects the respects and offerings of jivas who are materialistic fools, janada vidusha. The symptoms of their foolishness are described here in Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Such conditioned souls consider the Supreme Lord's deity a material statue and his worship an empty ritual, and they disrespect the Lord's devotees and the living beings in general. Therefore, the Lord is not interested in their offerings. Sri Narada likewise states in Srimad Bhagavatam 4:31-21, Nabhajati ku manishinam sa ijam harir adanatma danan dana prayo rasagya shuta danakula karmanam madirye vedadhati papam akinchaneshu satsu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. But persons who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruit of activity are very proud of possessing material things. And they often deride the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. There are several different ways to understand the prayer by Prahlad Maharaj stated above. That the Supreme Lord is fully satisfied with his own assets means that he is content with his own feelings of intense bliss. Nonetheless, he accepts the offerings of intelligent devotees, and because he is very compassionate to his devotees, for their benefit he acts out of character, gratefully accepting offerings even though he is not in need. Or, from another point of view, the words nija-labha purna indicate that the Lord becomes fully satisfied, purna, by prema, the labha, attainment, achieved by his intimate devotees, nija. Or he is satisfied by the worship they perform, the labha that he receives from them, because he obtains the fulfillment of his desires from his pure devotees. He is not attracted by the offerings of others. One should not think, however, that imperfect worshippers simply waste the wealth and other resources they expend for the Lord. When one worships the Supreme Person in any fashion, the result is always for one's benefit, atmane. The example given by Prahlad Maharaj is that a person's beautiful features, including the auspicious tilak on his forehead, naturally appear together with his image reflected in a mirror. The beauty of the reflection, however, is but a mere semblance of the person's original beauty. In the same way, ritual worship is but a semblance of pure devotion. Materialistic worshippers, therefore, do not achieve the primary goal of devotional service, pure love, because the Lord is not actually pleased by their offerings. They achieve only material benefits. Another way of looking at Prahlad's prayer is that although the Lord is very merciful, he does not accept the worship of the unintelligent, who lack spiritual wisdom and who therefore worship for their own selfish purposes, atmane, not for the Lord's pleasure. But why do such people worship the Lord to accomplish their selfish ends? Because without making an offering to him, they cannot achieve their own purposes, just as a mirror cannot reflect beautiful decorations of a face that has not been decorated. From another point of view, out of compassion, the Supreme Lord accepts whatever an intelligent devotee offers him. But if a devotee worships the Lord for selfish purposes, the result is only a semblance of what it could have been, like a person's beauty reflected in a mirror. The immature devotee receives some unimportant reward instead of the real success of pure devotion. Therefore, only worship offered with the unalloyed motive of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead leads to the treasure of prema bhakti, in which the devotee attains Sri Vaikuntha or some other abode of the Lord and is able to see him in person and associate with him. Still another understanding is that because the all-powerful Supreme Person is already fully satisfied with his own achievements, he is not really interested in the offerings of the materialistic jiva souls. But even if the Lord has no reason to accept such worship for his own benefit, why doesn't he accept it for the benefit of his worshippers? The answer is that when the Lord refuses the offerings of persons too foolish to know what is good for them and what is not, he is actually bestowing his mercy. Seeing the frustration and anxiety of someone who has spent wealth and effort for ritualistic worship without devotion, the Lord mercifully ignores the worship to induce the materialistic person to stop his useless endeavor. This is a prime indication of Krishna's expertise and his mercy. There are ways in which, well, in all ways, not ways in which, in all ways, Krishna knows the heart of every living entity. He knows each living entity's intention also. And Krishna's ultimate desire for every living entity who is very dear to him, this is part and parcel after all, is to bestow upon him the highest good. Therefore, within the material world, the realm of the material energy, which is described by Krishna in the Gita, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara ityame bina prakritirashtara. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. And that is that the material nature is going on in a systematic or an automatic way. And in doing so, there's an ultimate purpose, although it may not be seen by me, because as Krishna describes in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I'm overwhelmed by the enormity of the machine of the material world. I can't even see where it starts or where it ends. But its ultimate purpose is to bring me to the point of surrender to Krishna for my ultimate good. And therefore Krishna is the perfect moral agent. Not therefore, it's just that he is the perfect moral agent. That's the definition. And in the material world, the karma that I'm getting, by which I feel frustrated, is also a symptom of, or an example of his mercy on the living entities. Because, as Srinivasa Maharaj likes to say, it's cosmic sensitivity training. That I push here and then I feel the result of my pushing and it comes back to me, and at some point one becomes sensitized to the fact that when I thrash here in this world, I get thrashed. Thrash and be thrashed. So, on that side, Krishna is perfect moral agent. And for those who are awakening to devotional service, he says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami puti yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. That someone has an inkling towards devotional service. Practically speaking, according to our scriptures, even if they do it unknowingly, there's some agyata sukriti, they show some goodwill towards devotees, towards the process of devotional service, then Krishna then gives them the proper intelligence so that they can then make free choices to move closer to him and come to the perfection of life. And as one takes to the process of devotional service in earnest, he or she may then notice that there are some lingering effects from one's previous karmic activities. And in that, the great Bhāgavatam commentator Śrīdhara Svāmī says, from tate anu kampam su-samīkṣya 10.14.8, that Krishna also administers what appears to be karma in the life of the devotee. It's not karma, but it's actually Krishna's direct mercy, in that he knows what the last vestiges of desire the devotee has in his or her heart to enjoy the material world, and therefore he applies a kind of apparent karmic reaction in that devotee's life simply to remedy that last vestige of attachment in the material world, so the devotee is free to let go. And as one performs devotional service, there's a possibility that one also might, for instance, become neglectful in one's chanting of the holy name, just as an example of one of the processes of devotional service in chanting japa. Haridāsa Ṭhākura mentions that the devotee then may become waylaid from chanting, just as much as if one shows up late every day for work, your boss might lock you out. You finally come 4 days in a row late, and then the door's locked, and you say, "Let me in." It's like, "No, go home. No more work for you." So a similar way, Krishna's sensitizing devotees even as they take to devotional service, so that they can increase their attention and seriousness, attention to the process and seriousness of the process, about the process, so that they can advance in devotional service. But at every step, Krishna is fully attentive to the needs of the devotee, but at the same time sensitive to their free will. And it's a intimate relationship between the Lord and his devotees. Nitya-sambandhaḥ prakṛtiś paraiva. This verse was quoted on national television the other day by Tulsi Gabbard. She quoted this verse from the Brahma Samhita. Nitya-sambandhaḥ prakṛtiś paraiva. Every living entity has a intimate, eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then again, a person trying to worship the Lord may be unintelligent, avidushaha, in the sense of not knowing the proper way to worship. In the course of performing sacrifices, he might, for example, commit violence against innocent animals. Still, shouldn't the chief of all worshipable lords reward even such a worshipper? The answer, again, is that the Supreme Person is all-merciful. If he were to encourage such an offering by awarding benefits, he would be harming the sacrificial victims. Or, being satisfied with his own assets, the Lord neither accepts the offerings for his own sake, nor accepts them for the sake of his worshippers. This is because the materialistic worshippers are less intelligent, and the Lord is very kind. In general, a person cannot be certain whether the homage he offers to the Supreme Lord will result in his own benefit. He simply continues his labor in ignorance, taking trouble to collect the items required for worship. Meanwhile, the Lord, who cannot tolerate seeing the worshipper suffer such inconvenience, refuses to accept the worship, thus showing his supreme compassion. Of what use, then, is the attempt of an ordinary person to worship the Lord? The attempt is useful because it can eventually lead to one's complete fulfillment, atmane, whereas no other effort will. The beauty of one's reflected face in a mirror is one's own beauty only, and no one else's. Without the original beauty, no beauty will appear in the reflection. In other words, a candidate for devotional service must make an attempt, even if imperfect, to satisfy the Supreme Lord. There is no other way to achieve the perfection of life. That's a beautiful point, isn't it? Kind of reminds me of garbage in, garbage out. What did you expect? It's what you put in. Sometimes people make recordings, and there's all kinds of noise in the background and everything. Recently we were doing some videography, and there were noises in the background, and some expert looked at the piece and said, "What'd you expect? Garbage in, garbage out. You wanted something better, and you didn't take proper precaution to record in a pristine environment where there was no noise." So when we surrender to Krishna, actually we become more beautiful. We see our own beauty and become encouraged by it. So, ye yatamam prapadyante. It's a good idea to fully surrender. We keep getting that instruction again and again. And one could just take it up. There's nothing to prevent any living entity anywhere in the universe to just haul off and surrender to Krishna. That's fully possible. That's what makes life exhilarating, is that at any second, the living entity can just say, "Oh, the heck with it, I'm going to surrender to Krishna fully." That's what devotees, when they put their hands up like this, like, you know, when you get held up, or the police say, you put your hands up, or someone says, "All right, put your hands up." As devotees are doing, "Okay, I surrender." And yet another way to understand Prahlād's prayer is this: the Supreme Lord, being the personal friend and master, Prabhu, of all living beings, Atmanaha, is satisfied, Purna, when his devotees succeed, Nija-labha, and when he can thus have their loving association. Or even though the Lord is already fully satisfied, his desires being all fulfilled by his pure devotees, doesn't he also accept the offerings even of less intelligent persons? Of course he does. And he goes out of his way to accept their worship. But why? Because he is all kind. If he did not accept the offerings of those who worship him, those worshippers would never be able to achieve their desired success. Unless the jivas offer whatever they can to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot gain any real benefit. Even impure worship in the short term only marginally fruitful will gradually lead to complete perfection if the Supreme Lord kindly accepts the worship. It's interesting also that Sanatana Goswami, who's purport this is. It's a translation of his Sanskrit prose. Makes multiple points about the same verse. From different angles of seeing, probably just to say, discuss thoroughly threadbare and take it from different angles of seeing. And the acharyas, in their awareness of Krishna's completeness, are able to give multiple meanings to many verses, and they're all complete and accurate at the same time. Yes? Yes, it is.
So as you mentioned that some people have like agyat-sukriti, and it seems that sometimes the process works faster for them, and apparently for devotees like this it seems the process is slower. Can you shed some light on that?
I'll try. What's your name?
Rohit.
Rohit, Hare Krishna. What a nice question. Very insightful. It works faster for a while because there's a point at which one becomes aware of the fact that he or she is performing devotional service. After getting some unknown mercy, having some enthusiasm for devotional service unknowingly, and thus getting some mercy. The point is clearly established that there is a agyata-sukriti. There are multiple points made throughout Shastra about this, and the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta Purana, which is quoted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Jaiva Dharma, says that by an accumulation of agyata-sukriti, an accumulation, one gets enough so that one becomes faithful. Faithful Shraddha means that one has some definite appreciation, awareness of devotional service and appreciation for it. He said this, the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta Purana says this grows from agyata-sukriti. There are also multiple statements in the Puranas about agyata-sukriti. The most outrageous one I've ever heard is that Brahman takes prasadam, and then he gets eaten by a lion. And then the lion becomes a devotee because he took prasadam. But there are many. In the Kartik Mahatmya, there's a story of the mouse picks up a little half-burned ghee wick just to suck out the ghee, and then it reignites and he starts jumping in front of the Lord, and then it's during Kartik, and the Lord goes, Kartik, lamp, offering, okay. He gives benediction. Mouse takes a high birth and then goes back to Godhead. So it's there. Also in the sixth canto of the Srimad-Bhāgavatam, explicitly explained by Śrīdhara Svāmī about how the holy name can benedict even those who don't know what it is. Verses about the holy name doing that are legion. So it's a fact that it can happen and does happen. Then when one comes to an awareness that there's a responsibility to surrender to Krishna. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. One first awakens faith, actually is agyata-sukriti, and then there's an awakening of faith, and then one comes to associate with devotees. Then bhajana kriya, which means one takes a vow to perform devotional service. Now there's responsibility. You've gone from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. And now with consciousness comes responsibility. So now you also have, because freedom is a great burden, and some people don't like it. They say, I'd rather be nothing. Please let me become nothing, my Lord. I don't want this responsibility of freedom because I've misused it, and now I feel the results of that. But devotees feel an exhilaration for it because they know the progressive path of devotional service. So from bhajana kriya, now one consciously begins to practice devotional service. And now after that, you'll come to anartha nivritti, where you have to weed out the garden. Now it's your responsibility. And if you go through the Manak-shiksha by Raghunath Das Goswami, you'll find how subtle are those desires and how meticulous the devotee has to be to take them out of from his or her own practice and discard them. So in the beginning, it seems like it's better just to be unconsciously inconfident and get special mercy in that way and move along. But then you'll come to a point where you actually now receive some awareness, you get the awareness, and now you have to be responsible. And it may appear that you've slowed down. But actually it's all happening pretty quickly. It just appears from my perspective. Like my godbrother Vishnu-jana Swami used to say, the distance we have come is much longer than the distance we have to go. And but he said it even more dramatically than that. And also, there are many statements in the Shastra about how one begins the process of devotional service, one's success is assured. Because just as when, for instance, a woman becomes pregnant, and then she might then say, oh, I didn't really want to be pregnant. It was too late. The baby's going to come. So in a similar way, when one starts the process of devotional service, one may then become distracted, but still it has its own force and it pulls one along. Did that help? Okay, good. Hare Krishna. Yes, Navina Prabhu. Okay, so Lalita and Dinabandhu Guru have just entered the house, so please let's recognize and welcome them. Come on, that's Lalita and Dinabandhu. Practically single-handedly, they are maintaining the transcendental book distribution in the East Bay. Year after year, they go on steadily maintaining, increasing the Prabhupada's transcendental book distribution, maintaining a very high level of devotional practice in their own homes and wherever they go. So, I don't know what we did. Maybe it was the Harinam last night or something like that, but somehow when we really make an extra effort to chant the holy names, then Krishna sends us this kind of association. So we should feel very grateful. Hare Krishna. Oh, and Krishna's appeared also. Wow. We had a deity that we purchased in Navadvip a couple years ago. We hadn't installed him anywhere, but he developed a little crack, so we sent him back to the maker to repair the deity, and now he's just come back. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hare Krishna. He's definitely in there. Wow, that was really sweet. Thank you very much. Navina Nirada Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. You were speaking about the cosmic sensitivity training. And in different cultures, sensitivity means different things in different contexts. So sometimes Prabhupada makes the point that as long as people are reasonable and inquisitive, it's okay to discard the, what was the word? The ways and customs or the attachment to a certain way of doing things according to a particular custom of a nation. So how much should a devotee and how much should a preacher try to be sensitive to the customs and ways of a particular place, and how much should a devotee or a preacher be transcendental or not be bothered by that type of sensitivity?
I wrote about it in the book, Our Family Business. I wrote one chapter called The Penny Principle, which is about agyata sukriti. And then the next chapter is called the thoughtfulness principle, which is just about what you're speaking, the point you're mentioning, and that is that although there is a gyata sukriti, if one is neglectful of people's sensitivities in spreading Krishna consciousness, that the preacher may close down that person's mind to accepting devotional service. And you may say, oh, it doesn't matter because they get a gyata sukriti anyway. But this is a very careless way of spreading Krishna consciousness. To simply say, oh, they're inoculated anywhere, and it doesn't really matter what we do. Not only is it careless, it's not consistent with the parampara system, in which, as Prabhupada describes, there has to be current realization. Realization, he said, means understanding the message of the previous acharyas, but then adapting it to the cultural context of the people that one is speaking to. So you asked how important it is. I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. That one should take that into consideration. How is it that I'm being perceived? Because there is a way in which that is observable and measurable. One can adjust the context in which one is presenting the same message, and in that way open the minds and hearts of people so they drink it very deeply. I'll give you an example. Our mini festivals, as we call them, that we perform in Palo Alto, we've been doing consistently over, I don't know how many years, but it's more than a decade, isn't it? More than a decade and a half. Shraddha? How many years? Since 1998. We should have a little thing on the bottom. Since 1998. 19 years. So, and then we've watched how the difference between among our various approaches. And the more we've refined our approach and made it, and the more we refine it and make it accommodating to the people who are walking by, the more they drink it in, the more they appreciate it. So there may be ways in which some of the culture of a particular tradition may also be important in that presentation. It may help them in a certain way to see that there is a tradition. And that has to be also examined. One may say, throw away all trappings and simply go the other way. But a sensitive person may then, and I'm not making a broad sweeping statement, I'm just saying that each individual has to see for him or herself how effective it is. And that's the preoccupation of the teacher of Krishna consciousness, always measuring, how am I doing? With each individual person, very sensitive. In general, how's my approach going? As an institutional approach, is it working? Is it accommodating people? Recently I was at Saddleback Church in Orange County, and I took hundreds of pictures and collected all kinds of paraphernalia from the campus, because they've obviously got a sense that it matters how you present your message. They have 25,000 people that actually physically come to their church every weekend. And how is that possible? Because they've made it accommodating. There may be other churches around that have the exact same message, and it is the exact same message. I looked at it. I read their statement, their pamphlet that says, here's what we believe. It's right in this folder right here. We have it. I have everything. We're keeping these things, consuming them, assimilating them. And the message is cookie cutter message from any Baptist church. It's the same message. And I won't go into it now because I won't. But the surroundings, the context is completely different. And I wonder if people even notice the message, because they're so overwhelmed by the welcoming atmosphere there that it's like, that's okay, I don't have to read the message. In the same way as somebody might go to, for instance, Chopati, and I've heard this many times. Because they go to Chopati and they meet one person or three people and they say, these are the nicest people I ever met on earth. And then they meet 4 or 5 more people and then they say, all right, I don't know what the philosophy is, but I like it because it's in these people. And so it matters. It matters how a doctor approaches a patient. When you come in to visit the doctor, 90% of your ailment may be psychological. And if the doctor simply deals with the 10% that's clinical, you may not heal. So, thanks for giving me a little soapbox to jump up on. And now I'll get down again. What else? What are the things you got? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. A little report from the field.
Yes.
I'm a soldier in your army, and I travel with Navina Narada Prabhu. He's the artillery, and so modern day artillery is they're very precise and very massive. I'm a little sniper, and so that I go out like that. And on Thursday we went out. It was Ekadasi. And I'd been meditating on a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which in Krishna Das Kaviraj says, if you're indeed interested in logic and argument, then kindly apply this to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it strikingly wonderful. So I've tried to learn the Bengali, but I'm not going to try it here, but I've been meditating on that, and I was going out. My book distribution skills, as I say, are I'm looking for just the one shot, one kill, which is difficult. It's not easy, and so up until now, the max amount of books I was doing was 36. So we were somewhere, we
That's not a bad base number, is it?
Very Krishna. So we'd gone somewhere, it's like we didn't have the right directions to begin with. We went to a place, it didn't work out, so we ended up somewhere in San Francisco, near Haight Street. And my street skills are not the best. But the University of San Francisco is in the neighborhood. It's a very small school, very sweet. So I took 44 books, 20 Perfections of Yoga, 20 Nectars of Instruction, because one of my favorites, and there were 4 Ishopanishads. So 44 books I had in my bag. And since my mood wasn't so great, I brought my machine gun. I'm just gonna shoot. These bullets have no price, and everyone's gonna get a book. And the thing what I do, if people have no money, I really qualify them. And I say, if I give you a book, will you read it? Or maybe you're not so interested. Because people who are not interested will just hand the books back. You can read them. But people who are interested and say, hey, you know what, you found me. Or sometimes you find them in a mood where they really just need charity. And so then I give them the books because my philosophy is a solid promise will buy the book. Because the books are not for sale. And so then they've given time and a commitment. And that's a commitment to Kṛṣṇa and Prabhupada between Kṛṣṇa and them. So lots of people the whole day had no money. So I think all in all the books eventually went out, and I think maybe 5 people gave me donations. So I'm at the end of the time. There's 43 books have gone out. Maybe I have a few. I thought I had maybe $20 in my pocket, which is covers the cost. But I've been trained to get very nicely twice BBT as a book distributor, and we should follow that. But today that was the day I wasn't following that rule so much. My last book, I'm on the street and a teacher comes by. He walks up, I stop him. He's about 55 years old, a nice gentleman, and the conversation was very natural. I do a nice little mantra of I'm a monk, and he was like, everything was very gemoedelijk, we say in Dutch. It's very nice, it's like a nice flow of the conversation. Everything was, he was agreeing, yes, nice, fine. And then I say, these books are not for sale, but we're monks, we ask for a donation. Would you be willing to help? That's my mind. Would you be willing to help? And people like to help. And he looks at me, grabs his wallet, opens it up, and he says, I usually don't have cash with me, so let's see what we can do. One bill in there, it's $20. Strikingly wonderful. Where he takes a book, obviously he's going to read it, because yes, I'm interested in this. And then so I walk away with just exactly 44 books went out, and I had $40-some in donations. And the mantra in my head was, what's the striking wonder going to be today? Because Bhagavad Gita says, Raja Vijaya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha. So you should have direct experience. So if Kṛṣṇa Ṭhākura says, it'll be strikingly wonderful if you use your logic and argument, striking wonder will happen. And so this is my meditation for the next, it has been for a few days. And when I give people books, I ask them, do you know what is synchronicity? I said, well, most people don't know what that is. But it's a concept that Jung has explained as things that are maybe unrelated. We know Supersoul makes things happen. So it's an action of Supersoul. But what is the action of Supersoul? Something that is strikingly wonderful. So as I'm connecting with people, I said, if you read these books, something strikingly wonderful will happen. And then you should contact us because we want to know, because we have many of those stories. And so striking wonder did happen that day on my book distribution efforts.
I think we should have strikingwonder.com. That sounds like the name of a racehorse. Striking Wonder, he's coming around. He's in the last stretch. Striking Wonder, by a nose. Yeah. Devotees who extend themselves to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement live in with these kind of intimate realizations all the time. In order to get them, one has to take some risk. And Krishna's promise is, Yeyata mam prapadyante, as you surrender me, I reward you accordingly. What to speak of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you're mentioning. And it's an opportunity for everyone, as Prabhupada said, even a person from obscurity who takes to Krishna consciousness and joins the Sankirtan movement, and then extends him or herself to the world to fulfill Lord Chaitanya's order, then lives on this edge of exhilaration every day, because what's going to happen? How will I execute the order today? And it's in that tension that we grow in Krishna consciousness. And then we grow as a community as well. The community has to have that tension of how will I get to the next level of improvement in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. And they get the answer regularly, and that is by taking a risk for Lord Chaitanya. And then seeing how he's strikingly aware of our risk and wonderfully fulfills our desire to please him. And by those increments over a lifetime in which one is never fully satisfied and one never plateaus and comes to the point and says, now I've done enough, I'm perfect now in my execution of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. Rather, it goes on expanding. And Prabhupada says in the Adi Leela that of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the only business of the members of the Krishna consciousness movement is to go on expanding the Krishna consciousness movement unlimitedly. And that's a kind of sadhana. It's not simply a marketing ploy, but it's actually a kind of sadhana that one lives in, just as our own soldier Harinama Prabhu is living in, and living to tell these stories when he comes back from the battlefield about what actually happened to him and the revelation that he's having from doing it. That's why Prabhupada wrote in hand on a note that came down from his room that everyone should go for the Sankirtan party, to join the Sankirtan party as soon as possible. So, yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. I was just concentrating on the word, he used the word kamoedel and said it's a Dutch word, so I just looked it up and I thought I'd share that. Let's hear kamoedel
from the
Dutch. So kamoedel, not from the Dutch, but I was, and maybe you can comment on that. Kamudal.
Kamudalik.
Okay, yeah. So it said Kamudal.
Everyone has to use this in a sentence today.
I'm going to use it right now. So it said that Kamudal.
I just used it, so.
So it said that Kamudal is version 2 of Moodle. So I said, let's just find out what is Moodle then.
It's a what of Moodle?
Version 2. Like
A version of Moodle.
Second version of
Second
Moodle,
version of
Like in
Moodle.
software, you go from one.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, what's Moodle then? So Moodle is actually a learning management system. So Kamudal actually takes it to the next level. And I was just thinking that that's exactly what Prabhu is doing, version 2.
Wow. That's good. We're giving you a brand. Kamudal.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
name for the racehorse.
Thank you very much. Well done. Madhava Govinda, who lives on the edge. He abandoned everything to simply go on Sankirtan every single day. Let's hear what he has to say.
Similar to what Prabhu was sharing, I had...
One thing though, technique, just as a technical point. Microphones, don't shy away from them. It's Brihat Madanga. There may be a feeling that, it's more humble to talk like this or something like that. But actually, this is real humility to sacrifice one's own sense of humility to speak so everyone can hear. Hold it close.
So similar to what Harinam Bro was saying, I had a similar experience. It was in quite a few weeks back in Dianza College. It was raining and I had a table there, and one girl comes up and she was very interested, and she took the book and she was hanging out for quite a while, and she was saying that how do you do it actually? How do you get so much rejections? How do you do it? So yeah, we just keep doing it. She told, okay, let me also try. And then she starts calling people, hey, check it out, the books.
She said she'll try.
Yeah, she was there, right there, she was trying it actually. And then she was actually trying to call people. She tried for 5-6 people and no one came. And then I told, you see that girl, she is going to come to the table. I was not sure if she will be. But then I just told, and then I just called her, waved the hand, and she came, she took the books and she went. And then she was like, how did you know it? She told, yeah, it just, I told I'm a monk, so if you practice meditation, you get to understand. She told, yeah, it makes so much sense. And then she was thinking more. She told, what else is there that attracts people more actually? And she told, food. She told, next time when you come, let me know, I will get some food and we can give out. She was saying like that. So I was just thinking how, I was not sure whether she was going to come or not, but I was just praying internally. Krishna, I already promised, I told her, so it's up to you now, so how you manage it.
Yeah, when you teach others, especially book distribution, there's always that tension, because oftentimes, especially if you're known to be an expert, they want to see some magic. I have this experience over and over again where people following behind me and they go, okay, let's see the magic. And I'm going, okay, Krishna, let's see the magic. I don't know what will happen. We're helpless when we're there. We have to really be in that zone of surrender and also have fortified ourselves by intense hearing and chanting. It requires that one live in that zone of purity from realization in order to successfully go on distributing Krishna consciousness, especially one-to-one, meeting people one after another, even having the wherewithal to come up to people who you don't know and present to them Krishna consciousness. Some people find it difficult to do at first because they feel like they're interrupting somebody else. Of course, we don't unnecessarily interrupt people. We find ways in which to attract their attention, and then they willfully engage. But still, it seems like an imposition. But one who's getting transcendental realization about the purpose of life and seeing the difference between the body and the soul and so forth, doesn't have hesitation in going out to meet people and give them Krishna consciousness. Did you have your hand up earlier? Oh, I thought you went like that. I was very interested. I still am, but we'll wait till another time. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit more. That's okay. Since it looks like Avantika's captured in the kitchen. I was going to sing something, but she got away, I guess. She looks busy, so I don't want to bother her. Although the fruit of their worship of Hari is in itself greater than the results of all pious material activities, they do not gain the highest fruit they would have derived from proper devotional service to the Lord. In various scriptures, therefore, the best of saintly persons condemn such materialistic worship. Wow, look at that. One mantra, and she came in. Such an intimate moment as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as my godbrother likes to say, nobody tops the Thakur. Mm-hmm. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's influence on the Sankirtan movement is inestimable. He revived Lord Chaitanya's teachings at a time when it seemed impossible and also contrary to the flow of the intellectual society. He had his perfect revelation as an acharya who was empowered to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, even from a point of somewhat being constrained because of the culture and so forth. His vision was so perfectly clear that he wrote many, many books, over 100, and he also wrote these songs. And while we're hearing the translations and singing the songs, we can also, in our mind's eye, see how Bhaktivinoda Thakur would be sitting in his room. It's there to see. We go every year. And writing with his heart fully absorbed in love for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna. And he transfers that into the poetry and into his words. And so there's people all over Silicon Valley writing code. A lot of code getting written. And it's kind of mystical what it is. You put together all these different symbols. Correct me if I'm wrong. And once you do, then it's a kind of language, and it expresses itself in various ways. It does automatic tasks, and it makes colors and pictures and all kinds of things. Am I okay so far about the coding thing? And so on a material level, there's a way in which just by deliberately putting together certain kinds of information, one can express something amazing. But on the spiritual level, this happens also when pure devotees put together take their realizations and transform them into their poetry. The poetry is the language of love. There's other kinds of poetry. Say German is the language for speaking to dogs, and English is for speaking to horses. French is for speaking to lovers. I don't know what English was, American English was for. Hey, buddy. But poetry, really, it's a parokshavad. I just read yesterday in the 11th canto of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Krishna appreciates subtle speech. That includes this poetry, parokshavad. It means indirect. There's symbolism. And so that has a great impact on the life of the living entity, especially the devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu absorbed himself in this in his final days, final years, and the Gambhira. He would hear songs. Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy were stationed there with him permanently and would intuit his various moods and then would sing appropriate poetical songs written by Jayadev and others that would further augment the rasa, the experience of love that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having for Krishna. So in a similar way, anyone who sings the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur will be infused with devotion for Lord Chaitanya and encouraged to chant the holy name of the Lord. Similarly, if you sing the Shad Goswami Ashtakam each day, you will feel a sense of encouragement for doing strict devotional practices each day. In fact, it's not that you'll be encouraged, you'll actually be empowered. It's there within this song. The envelope, please. And the winner is the internet. Let's thank everybody who's joined us on the internet. That was nice, but it was a little lukewarm, except for Mukaravind. So let's try it again. Thank you to everybody. We feel your presence like anything. It means so much to us that you're there online, listening in, because the more devotees that participate in Sankirtan, and this is Sankirtan, the more that participate, that's why it's called Samyak Kirtan. It's complete, and it becomes more and more complete when more people join in. In fact, when we take it outside and people join in, then we feel even more complete, isn't it? Like last night while we were chanting, when people would stop on their way to the fill-in-the-blank bar, restaurant, or what was that shop we stopped at? Infinite Beauty. What's it called? Forever Flawless. I know a lot of people must be going to that shop to get a little packet of stuff to make you forever flawless. It's a little cosmetic store on the way. But they would stop and they would join the Haridam Sankirtan, and we'd feel even more that the kirtan would come to a higher level, because a perfect stranger stopped and was expressing gratitude for the holy names. Even some of them didn't know what it was, they expressed gratitude. There was an elderly couple there last night that stayed afterwards, and they said that they were really taken with the whole production and they wanted to become involved more. Who was taking care of that couple? Do you remember?
Like last you met?
Yeah, you know that last couple I talked to? SKP, yeah, SKPs. Huh? Did you see them? The couple last night? And there was lots of people, but just because of their appreciation, I saw them when we were chanting. They were standing over on the side and they were swooning. They were swooning and there was light coming from their eyes. They had lived in Cupertino for 38 years. I'm not sure where they were there before that, where they're from. Sounded a slight accent, maybe ethnic somewhere. I think maybe, anyway, I won't guess. So, yes? Everything you're saying now is, we're depriving the online audience and the kitchen.
There was a mom and a daughter, and she kept on wanting to go, but the daughter was like, no, hold on. So I went ahead and I said, you want to come back and dance? She said, yeah,
you do that.
Of course. And then she was so happy, and while she was leaving, she had tears in her eyes. So I said, do you want to get some? She said, I'm okay, I don't want to eat anything. But she seemed so happy. She went. The first time we went on a train thing, and again she said, oh, we're doing it again. Yes, I want to do it. And the daughter was like, she was trying to pull her mom.
So first the daughter wanted to stay, and then the mom wanted to stay?
The daughter was a little apprehensive, I felt.
Right.
But the mom was really wanting to do it. So she was so happy. While she was leaving, she was thanking, she was hugging, she was having tears in her eyes. So I just gave her the Mahamantra card. I told her that, she didn't want to take anything, but she was happy.
And now it's on her resume that she was the lead dancer during the Kali Yuga, in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears for a public Harinam Sankirtan performance in Palo Alto. I mean, for a living entity, that's a big deal. It's like, what do you got on your resume? Well, nothing. Well, what about that? Oh, that's something big. I didn't know that. Living entities don't know exactly how big it is to be the lead dancer. That is an eternal asset. Yeah, I saw you do that. And I really like that mood, that it's the more we open it up, the architecture of the festival. We were talking last night to an expert. Krishna sent us an events planner, and so I asked her. I said, "So what do you think? Give us some ideas." And she says, "Okay, a little of this. You need an arch over here, and you come through here, and change that sign." And the more that we make it accommodating and welcoming, so people feel they can come in. But the nicest thing of all is how the devotees are distributing books, and also how those who are dancing notice others, because people naturally become attracted. They look and they have that look on their face like, this is really good, I wonder if I could do it too. But they're not sure if they can. So it was really nice how you came over, and other devotees were doing this also, and inviting them to come into the dancing party of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they do it. And they do it seriously. It's not like at a drunken rally where people jump in to impress their girlfriend or something like that. Of course, even that's okay. But this is very serious. They actually come and they dance because they feel this is spiritual and inherently understand it's spiritual, and they want to dance to it. Yes?
Yes, Maharaj. Yesterday also, there's one lady with her small daughter. She was watching for a long time. When I approached her, started talking, she said one comment which was like, this is a perfect music. That the feeling which I could see from her, she was enjoying the music. Like she said, this is a perfect music. So I just thought to share.
Yeah. I mentioned last night in that monologue that when you hear the sound of the Hare Krishna mantra, this is taken from Prabhupada's purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll notice that it's not like any other sound you've ever heard. It's distinct and somewhat, it's completely mystical, but according to my capacity, I experience that mysticism. But people, it's unmistakably different, and people hear it. It's almost embarrassing sometimes when people come by. They feel some ecstasy and they try to hold it back. They try to hide it. Because like, wow, I shouldn't be feeling such ecstasy. Maybe this is God calling me and I'm not ready yet. There are a lot of different emotions that go through people's minds and hearts. And I think the most advantageous perspective in all the Sankirtan movement is to be able to see that for oneself. To be part of Sankirtan, book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan, Prasadam distribution, and then watch the reactions that people have, which can also include a reaction that leads up to, okay, I'm part of you guys, I want to join. That happens too, right, Victoria? Victoria's back there. She was walking along minding her own business one night and heard the Harinam Sankirtan, and then showed up and said, okay, I'm one of y'all. I'm with y'all. Of course, she didn't say it like that, but yes.
I just wanted to add that Victoria Mataji had this Russian banner yesterday up, and she had lots of Russian books displayed, and it was just amazing to see. And
we marked it last night as an historic event, that from our mini festival, that last night Bhakti and Victoria distributed the first Russian books. It's interesting too, because at one point everyone was trying to get Russian books into Russia, and now they're trying to get Russian books out of Russia and into other countries around the world. But the fact is, the flow of literature, transcendental literature around the world, is vitally important for the well-being of the living entities, because it's a codified transcendental sound that comes out from the box, these little boxes, it bursts out of there. And it's the only medicine that will actually satisfy the living entities and help them to be well-ordered in their human life, or well-ordered enough in order to take advantage even a few minutes of human life. Otherwise, there's no other codes available out there that give the human mind and heart the opportunity to utilize this rare opportunity. Any more comments? Because I have a few more shlokas that I want to read. You might be thinking, why am I reading all this? Because what happened to Lord Ramachandra? But I'm getting there. Text number 216-17. Although the fruit of their worship of Hari is in itself greater than the results of all pious material activities, they do not gain the highest fruit they would have derived from proper devotional service to the Lord. In various scriptures, therefore, the best of saintly persons condemn such materialistic worship. Commentary. How can worship of the Supreme Lord not be fruitful? And if fruitful, how can it be criticized? This verse and the next answer these doubts. Faithless worship of the Lord's deity results in vast, faultless material enjoyment, unencumbered by the complications that result from ordinary fruit of rituals, like being promoted to heaven. But only pure devotional service grants one the most rare treasure of pure love for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, which in turn grants entrance to his abode, where one can see him and play with him forever. Thus, the most perceptive authorities on devotional service are usually critical of the deity worship of neophytes with weak faith. 218. When the Puranas and other scriptures make statements that belittle deity worship, you should understand that all such statements refer to those particular worshippers, not to all devotees. But if such materialistic worshippers never give up their worship under any circumstance, their dedication will purify their hearts. Then, by the mercy of Krishna's devotees, who see only the good qualities of others, the faults of such worshippers will be exhausted. And in time, those worshippers too will become first-class devotees. Purport. A person questioning the value of granting petty material enjoyment to such casual worshippers might support his doubt by citing scriptures. Vasudeve mano yasya japo homa chanadishu tasyantarayo maitreya devantratva kampam. O Maitreya, for a person whose mind is focused on Lord Vasudeva by chanting of mantras, by offering of oblations, by worship of the deity, and so on, such results as becoming the king of the demigods are simply obstacles to his progress. This doubt is cleared by text 219 and 220. Anyone following the process of deity worship seriously, without giving it up under any circumstance, will be purified and in a short time will become a perfect devotee of the Lord. This guarantee stands even if the worshipper has regarded the deity as a stone statue, different from the Supreme Person, or has concocted a new image of the Lord, or has been led away from the path of Sanatana Dharma by excessive pride, or has treated other living entities with contempt, or even if he has shown no respect for Vaishnavas. But hypocrites who merely make a show of deity worship for a short time may only in the distant future become perfect devotees. Show bottle worshippers who offend Vaishnavas do not deserve to have their ambitions fulfilled at all, but they may attain perfection by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. For the Vaishnavas are very merciful, kind, even to their enemies. But wouldn't it be better for Vaishnavas simply to neglect such offenders and let them remain in ignorance? Perhaps, but pure Vaishnavas see only the good qualities in everyone. Since even superficial pretentious worshippers of the deity are meditating on the transcendental form of the Lord, saintly devotees simply ignore the offenses and shower mercy. Devotees who have material desires first enjoy the material results for which they hanker, and later, on the strength of devotional service, they enjoy the true fruit of devotion. But because that fruit does not at first appear, pure devotees decry what those worshippers first achieve. Pure devotees, after all, think that seeing the Lord constantly, attaining bliss from taking part in his pastimes, and relishing subsequent pleasures are the fruit of devotional service and its root as well. Commentary. Achieving the perfection of prema is only the beginning of Vaikuntha life. After that, a liberated devotee makes further advancement, receiving special individual mercy from the Lord by being allowed to serve him in person and to enjoy in other ways the nectar of devotion. Those devotees cannot tolerate even a moment's delay in obtaining that fruit, nor can the Lord neglect such devotees even for a moment. Commentary. Once a devotee's pure love of God is awakened, he can no longer wait to see the Lord and serve him. In that consciousness, it is difficult for the devotee to understand why others hesitate to take full shelter of prema bhakti. and so he may speak critically of compromised materialistic behavior. Thus, all the other fruits of desires are paltry, even liberation. From the personality of Godhead they are easily obtained, but his pure devotional service is not. By the mercy of pure devotional service, the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller, becomes subordinate to his devotees. This, in effect, deprives him of independence, so pure devotional service he rarely bestows. Purport: pure love for Sri Krishna Dev is more difficult to obtain than liberation. In the words of Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is always ready to help you. He is your master, guru, God, very dear friend, and head of your family. Yet sometimes he agrees to act as your servant or order carrier. You are greatly fortunate because this relationship is possible only by bhakti yoga. The Lord can give liberation very easily, but he does not very easily give one bhakti yoga." From Bhāgavatam, 5th canto. One of Krishna's names is Mukunda. What is it? Which can be divided into 3 parts: Mu, liberation; Kum, happiness; and Da, giving. Meaning that Krishna bestows the bliss of liberation, or Kum can be understood to mean devotional service, so Krishna is the bestower of both liberation and devotional service. However, although the Lord often awards liberation and ordinary devotional service, he very rarely gives prema bhakti. Why? Some say it is because when Bhagavan, the supremely independent controller of all, gives prema bhakti, he becomes obliged to give up his independence. For devotees who have prema, keep him helplessly under their control. Or, taking the title Bhagavan to express his absolute omniscience, the idea is that he knows the impropriety of giving prema bhakti to anyone uneducated in the rasas of pure devotion. Other reasons for the Lord's hesitancy to grant prema bhakti will be discussed later on. 227. In my opinion, the Lord's coming under the control of his dearmost servants creates no unhappiness or fault of any kind. Rather, it creates great joy and broadcasts such glorious qualities of the Lord as his affectionate concern for his devotees. Commentary: having recounted others' thoughts on why the personality of Godhead rarely bestows prema bhakti, Narada now discloses his own. First, he refutes the idea that the Lord wants to avoid losing his independence. The Lord causes no distress for his devotees when he submits himself to their desires. Nor by surrendering his independence does he suffer. Rather, these intimate dealings bring joy to the entire world, and they spread the Lord's fame for being generous and concerned for his devotees. Because the Lord's submission to his devotees enlarges their mutual joy, it is a source of delight rather than distress. Furthermore, because it increases his glories, it is faultless. 228. The way the chief of expert heroes voluntarily submits to his devotees is supremely dear and attractive because it contradicts his self-satisfaction and certain other of his natural qualities. It is the ultimate perfection of godhood. Commentary: the greatness of God is seen most fully when he becomes subordinate to his servants. In such intimate dealings, the Lord reveals his most special qualities, like his unselfish efforts to give happiness to his devotees. This aspect of his personality attracts the admiration of pure Vaishnavas, even when it seems to contradict such features as his absolute status, as his eternal self-satisfaction. His absolute status as his eternal self-satisfaction, his effortless acquisition of whatever he might desire, his supreme mastery of the powers of mystic yoga, and so on. One may learn more about this topic by studying such pastimes of Krishna as his destroying the pride of Satyabhama, as told in Sri Harivamsha and other devotional scriptures. Everyone all right? You know, better than all right. 229. In the final maturity of devotional service and pure love, sometimes a unique treasure appears, Mahabhava, the highest stage of ecstasy. With the vision of truth, one sees it in the kingdom of the greatest delight, where it dances exuberantly upon the ramparts. Purport: in Mahabhava, the most rare experience, one suffers the torment of burning in the fire of separation from Krishna. From the purely spiritual point of view, this so-called suffering is actually the most sublime ecstasy. And yet, the peculiar state of Mahabhava is that outwardly it shows the signs of terrible distress, sorrow, and pain. And although these signs are but external, the Lord can never tolerate seeing such a state in His most beloved devotees. Purport: Krishna cannot bear to see His devotees crying out pitifully and shedding torrents of tears in the pain of separation from Him, even though He knows that these are not truly signs of unhappiness. Real or not, these signs of distress in His devotees force Him to respond. In this state, His title Bhagavan is best understood to mean the most loving. 231. When persons addicted to mundane visions see the bewildering symptoms of ecstasy born from pure love of God, they ridicule the devotees. Because such mundane persons have no desire to achieve devotional service, the Supreme Lord withholds from them His prema bhakti. Commentary: it is for the good of foolish people that the personality of Godhead doesn't grant them prema bhakti. For lack of spiritual vision, materialists cannot begin to appreciate what pure love of God is. So when Vaishnavas show symptoms of ecstasy of prema, crying out loud and appearing as if in great pain, the materialists, not at all attracted to share in these feelings, simply laugh at the devotees. The atheists in Navadvip used to, Kulavija Śrīdhara would be awake all night, chanting the Lord's names in separation. And the atheists in Navadvip would say, just see, he's so poor, he's hungry, and he's crying out all night because he's starving. The external appearance of pure love of God is certainly bewildering to ordinary people, so they cannot decide whether they are seeing great suffering or great pleasure. And because the Supreme Lord has unlimited compassion for every living entity, He refrains from introducing the mysteries of pure devotional service to those who are unprepared. 232. Devotional service endowed with prema is very rarely achieved. In contrast, the enjoyments of heaven are easy to obtain, and so too is freedom from material existence. People rarely, if ever, find a chintamani gem. They usually find only glass or sometimes gold. Commentary. Various enjoyments and opportunities for control are available in heaven, on earth, in the subterranean regions, and on all the planets of the sages. And for anyone with the requisite karmic credit, these are easily achieved. In contrast, one rarely achieves liberation from the cycle of birth and death. And prema bhakti is much more rare than even liberation. Thus, material success is compared to glass, liberation to gold, and pure devotion to the mystic Chintamani gem. Okay, Haribol. 233. Only once in a while does the Supreme Lord give bhakti, and only to a rare intelligent person who desires only that, indifferent to the opinions of the world. Commentary. Because a candidate for prema bhakti has lost all concern for what worldly people think of him, they reciprocate by treating him with contempt. Verse 234. We are not able to describe completely this special ecstatic state, nor is it proper for us to do so. And even if the most perfect of scriptures, those dedicated to promoting devotional service, were to describe it in detail, the effect on ignorant people would be contrary. Commentary. Gopakumar wants to learn more from Narada about the special kind of ecstasy that comes from mature love of God. But here Narada asserts that he is unqualified to explain it. Prema bhakti is indeed beyond the reach of anyone's mind and words. Only devotees who have directly perceived it can understand it. Before a general audience, then, it is inappropriate to say very much about even the external symptoms of prema. Thus, Bṛhad-bhāgavatām and other bhakti shastras avoid revealing too much. The devotional scriptures anticipate that after reading that prema is like the fire of universal annihilation multiplied millions of times, people will be afraid to cultivate prema bhakti. Śrīdhara Svāmī, in his comments on Bhāgavatam, encourages neophyte readers by portraying the symptoms of prema bhakti described therein as signs of happiness, not unhappiness. For example, one verse in the 11th canto says about the devotee who has achieved prema, Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jantanurago chitta uchai asatyato raudati rautikayati unmadavan vrittiti lokabayaha. By chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord, and he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Lord. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly or cries or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, for he is indifferent to public opinion. Śrīdhara Svāmī tactfully explains that he laughs very loudly or cries and shouts means that the devotee jokingly rebukes the Lord, "You have been neglecting me all this time." When the supreme ecstasy of prema in separation appears outwardly like supreme distress, there is nothing wrong with this except that persons lacking spiritual knowledge will misunderstand devotional service to be a miserable experience and will have nothing to do with it. They will turn instead to impersonal jnana to achieve liberation or to materialistic karma to fulfill their desires for happiness. Rather than listen to the perfect authorities on bhakti, they will hear from ordinary ignorant men. Persons who serve the transcendental taste of this ecstasy can realize its super excellence and sweetness. Since you belong to the place where Mahabhava is known, very soon you will surely understand it by the mercy of the Lord. Commentary. Out of humility, Narada implies that he is unable to understand the ecstasy of prema. But as an intimate associate of Lord Narayan and a witness of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwarka, he knows much more than he has disclosed. Gopakumar is also eligible for this privileged understanding because he was born in Gokula and graced by the mercy of Sri Gokulanath. Sri Gokulanath ki. Sri Gopakumar said, "These words of Narada greatly increased my anxious eagerness to see the lotus feet of Sri Gopal, my worshipable Lord. Quickly a powerful storm-like urge also arose in me, a hope to achieve the kind of ecstasy that Narada had just described. Seeing me cast by this hope and eagerness into an ocean of sorrow, Narada consolingly spoke." Commentary. Pure devotees revere Narada Muni for preaching the glories of the Supreme Lord all over the universe. Gura Vaishnava Siddhanta Mani Manjushika Hatat Sputam Udgatita Yena Tam Prapano Smi Naradam. I take shelter of Narada, who forced open the secret treasure chest in which the jewels of the Vaishnava philosophy conclusion were kept. There's a deity of Narada at Narada Kund at Govardhan Hill. It's right across from Kusam Sarovar. But you have to go way down, about a mile and a half down the road. So that's why most pilgrims are walking. They don't go down there to that place. Most people drive. And then the Kund is very peaceful, beautiful. But then inside it looks like a garage almost. Big garage-like place. You go in, and they have this really beautiful deity of Narada Muni holding his veena there. You just go bask in that darshan. And when you go there, you can take this verse. It's on. Everyone should copy it down and then make a plan to go to Narada Kund. Narada Kund. It's on page 837. Is it? No, 835. Get that verse and go see Narada Muni and ask him to empower you to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. Okay? Okay? Yes. All right. Everyone, we'll meet you there. Sri Narada said, although this topic is most confidential and should not be talked about here, by the weight of your anxiety, I am being forced to speak openly. This is an important point, because when someone really is hungry for devotional service and is inquiring with that mood, then devotees who have deep realization will reveal them. Only to that degree do devotees who have deep realization reveal their secrets, their realizations. Only when they detect, and it's easily detectable in people, that they actually want the real thing and they're hungry to get it. That's why tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena means you should go with this deeply inquiring spirit. You're not simply trying to take the knowledge so you can become great. You're taking because you're hungry and hungry and hungry. Purport: the secrets Narada is about to divulge are generally not discussed, even in Vaikuntha. So we got to go. End, right? End right here? I'm not convinced. All right. Okay, 239. Far from here lives Ayodhya. Lies Ayodhya. Far from here lies Ayodhya, the splendid city of Raghupati, the divine master of the Raghu dynasty. And beyond that shines the city of Dwarka, dear to the divine master of the Yadus. Dwarka resembles the blessed and charming Mathura. Go to that Dwarka and worship with your eyes your beloved Lord. Commentary: above all the other Vaikuntha planets are the special abodes of Lord Ramachandra and Lord Krishna. Since Gopakumar is somewhat familiar with Mathura on earth, Narada describes Dwarka as being similar. As affirmed by Vikadru in Śrīdhara Svāmī, in where? Dwarka is actually a Mathura sub-district. And the residents of Dwarka are mostly Yadavas from Mathura city. So when Gopakumar achieves Dwarka above Vaikuntha, in effect, he will be attaining Mathura. But first, hear from me about an excellent method for approaching Ayodhya, a method approved by those whose only taste is for service at Lord Ramachandra's lotus feet. In the final hour, now my purpose is being revealed, why I read this section. Commentary: Narada recommends that Gopakumar reach Dwarka by first going to Ayodhya. The devotees there worship Lord Ramachandra almost as intimately as Krishna's devotees worship Krishna in Dwarka. So in Ayodhya, Gopakumar will get good training in the higher practice of personal devotion. Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the source of all incarnations, and simply by worship of him, everything can be obtained. Yet I shall give you teachings to help you achieve a special taste for the divine lotus feet of Lord Ram, the hero of the Raghus. Commentary: from experience, Gopakumar is fully convinced that anything he desires, he can easily obtain by taking shelter of the 10-syllable king of mantras meant for worship of Sri Madan Gopal. The suggestion that he approached the lotus feet of Sri Raghunath does not contradict this. As in Bhāgavatam 1.3.28, Krishna is the one source of all expansions of Godhead, including Lord Ramachandra. Echichamsha kalapungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All of these incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Devotees of Krishna see in Lord Rama many of the all-attractive features of their own deity. In Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Sri Śrīdhara Svāmī mentions Lord Ramachandra's exceptionally beautiful lotus feet. Smarantam priti vinyasya vidham dandakakantakai sapada pallavam Rama atmayonir agattata. When Lord Ramachandra lived in Dandakaranya, his lotus feet were sometimes pierced by thorns. After completing the sacrifice, he placed those lotus feet in the hearts of those who always think of him. Then the self-born Lord entered his own abode. A unique rasa is to be tasted at those lotus feet, a special mood of ecstatic worship. And Narada wants to help Gopakumar achieve it. By devotional service to Sri Madan Gopal, the source of all avatars of Vishnu, everything desirable is easily obtained. Yet Sri Raghunath is a special incarnation of the Lord. He has special characteristics that one cannot relish without developing the particular mood of his worship. Narada now offers to instruct Gopakumar in the method of worshipping Lord Ramachandra. Practice like this, O husband of Sita, Raghunath, elder brother of Lakshmana, O Lord, dear master of Sri Hanuman, and remember the qualities, beauty, and power of Lord Ramachandra as revealed in the Vedas and other scriptures. Commentary: Gopakumar might also worship the Lord of the Raghus by addressing him as the darling of son of Kaushalya, or the son of Dasharath, or the younger brother of Bharata, or the friend of Sugriva, or he might remember Sri Raghunath's transcendental qualities of shyness, humility, and so on, his beautiful appearance as he carries a bow in his hand, and his powerful displays of various opulences. The original Vedas give some hint of the glories and pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, which are elaborately described in the Puranas and in the Ramayana of Valmiki Rishi. So I'm going to read one more verse and purport, and it's going to be on the quiz. Okay, Abai? Here it goes. 244. One should follow whatever path leads to attaining one's own worshipable deity. That is the most intelligent way to act. Persons exclusively devoted to their object of worship should be very much attracted to anything in which they find even a faint scent of their deity's presence. Did you absorb all that? You want me to say it again? I only have 2 minutes, and then somebody's going to come in here and give me the cane. One should follow whatever path leads to attaining one's own worshipable deity. That is the most intelligent way to act. Persons exclusively devoted to their object of worship should be very much attracted to anything in which they find even a faint scent of their deity's presence. Commentary. Gopakumar might hesitate to approach Lord Ramachandra. After all, Sri Madan Gopal Dev has long ago stolen Gopakumar's heart, and Gopakumar has since then lost interest in everything and everyone else. So how can he now be expected to develop love for someone else? Narada clears this potential doubt by assuring him that approaching Lord Ramachandra is the wisest thing he can do for his own self-interest. He should follow the logic, swakaryam udaret prajna, karya dvamshena murkata. An intelligent person should somehow do the needful. One who spoils the business at hand is a fool. That's a good mantra. Gopakumar should therefore approach his destination by stages, going first to Ayodhya and then to Dwarka, where he will meet his worshipable Lord. Gopakumar will achieve Lord Gopal Dev by the special mercy of the Supreme Lord in his form of Sri Raghunath, just as he achieved Lord Vishnu by the special mercy of Lord Shiva. But won't this violate Gopakumar's chaste vow to worship only one deity? No, because a devotee fixed in exclusive devotion to his Ishtadeva will be spontaneously attracted to whatever has even a slight fragrance of his own Lord's presence. Narada is confident that meeting Lord Ramachandra will lead Gopakumar to the perfection of happiness. I mean, come on. This is unparalleled nectar, isn't it? Yes. Case closed. So, somehow or other, we're very lucky. We have the opportunity to go on hearing without stoppage. No one can stop us if we develop that desire within our heart to go on hearing the holy names, to hear the Bhāgavatam and all the writings of the Goswamis. We can read Srila Prabhupada's, if we decide to read all of Srila Prabhupada's books 108 times in the next 10 years. Who could stop us? Can you think of anybody that could stop us? That's why we're lucky. we have independence, and somehow or other we've attained association with devotees, and we've been inspired to utilize our minute independence in the right way, and therefore it's become most auspicious. So we're going to end today and head off to various other services. And thank you everybody for coming in this morning. Ramanavami.